Hello, this is Stupsley here. As you may know, I love speech and drama. And today, I'd like to talk about the Speech Festival. It's a wonderful event for the Hong Kong students to join. Well, I've asked a couple of questions to some of my past students who've got some great successes in the festival. Let's hear from them.
Because I played this speech festival when I was primary 2, and I actually won it for the first time, and actually I really enjoy having speeches on the stage and with like many people around me.
Well, I like to join the speech events because personally I think it gives me a very good chance to express myself and to prove myself, because speech and drama, you can really express yourself throughout those words, and I think it really gives me a chance to prove my English skill overall.
I really like entering this speech festival because I can really learn from other competitors and maybe learn from their mistakes and maybe improve myself at the same time, and also maybe just learn about different poetry styles.
I think it's quite magical to convey someone's thoughts, whether it's narrative or abstract thoughts, through words, and for having other people say it out and convey these thoughts. And I think it's another way of to express my creativity through my interpretation.
Well, in short, the Speech Festival is a wonderful platform to provide students with good experience, good exposure. To me personally, it's quite a fun game to play.
What they want is what makes you special. What they want is something different.
I actually just have a little strategy, like having some facial expression will help you, or speaking very loudly, very clearly.
My background research and maybe knowledge of the poem really benefited me in the long run, and also using facial expressions is also really important, and avoid using hand gestures. Maybe 1 or 2 is enough.
I think the point of the speech festival is not to impress the judge. And I think if you go into the performance or go into the competition just think about impressing the judge, you're going to get a lot of worry and anxiety, and I think that's just unnecessary pressure.
It goes without saying that different champions, different winners have their own tips on how to do well in front of the adjudicators or audience. But I don't believe that there is a winning formula. Every situation is different. Even one poem can be interpreted in different ways. But I think it's quite safe to say that a clear, loud voice with good, efficient facial expressions may give you an advantage in most of the cases, particularly when the performers are younger. That may give them some extra levels of cuteness.
Oh, soggy greens, I hate you. I hate your sloppy slush. And if my mom would let me, I'd throw you in a bush. My sister sits in her own world, with her Walkman blaring away. And when we try to talk to her, she doesn't hear a word we say.
How cute they were. Well, yes, it's true for the junior students. Well, even the performers a little bit older, with a longer piece of poem, a loud voice with clarity, with facial expressions, with high level of energy, all these can enhance your performance in many, many cases.
I saw a monster in the woods as I was cycling by. His footsteps smoldered in the leaves. His breath made bushes die.
And when he raised his hairy arm, it blotted out the sun. He snatched a pigeon from the sky and swallowed it in one.
His mouth was like a drilling cave, his eyes like pools of lead. And when he growled, I rode back home and rushed upstairs to bed.
But that was yesterday, and though it gave me quite a fright, I'm older now and braver, so I'm going back tonight.
I'll tie him up when he's asleep and take him to the zoo.
The trouble is, he's rather big.
Will you come too?
And of course, a twist end is something that a lot of adjudicators may look for, especially when the poem is longer, when that narrative is long. It may involve a lot of different emotions, so you cannot expect one facial expression can carry on for the entire piece. However, as being said, you need to do some research on the piece. You need to understand the intention of the poet. You need to understand the direction of the poem. Sometimes less is more.
It was so peaceful that I heard the trees ease off their coats of bark. It was so still that I heard the paving stones groan as they muscled for a space. It was so silent that I heard the page of this book whisper to its neighbor, "Look, he's peering at us again."
This is an excellent example of great voice control, with some very efficient dramatic skills displayed. But of course, it takes time and experience and exposure and thinking in order to achieve that level of voice control or emotional control. We need to be more engaged into the performance. We need to own it. You're performing not just because somebody asked you to perform it. The audience can tell whether you're involved in this piece or you're being forced to do it.
6th grade, I joined the public speaking event, the video shooting. It was the most painstaking experience ever. Every time repeating over and over, and then watching my video, finding a flaw, and then just having to do it all over again. It was very memorable for the pain and the grind, but also for the experience. I mean, I learned how to speak better publicly.
So there was this one time that I was performing. I got to the last couple stanzas. I just remembered that I totally skipped one sentence, and I was like really, I started to panic, but I tried not to show it on my face. I just continued with the whole performance, because once you get on the stage, you can't really stop and like go back. There's no reverse button. So in the end, the adjudicator gave the title of champion to me, because maybe I kept on going and maybe didn't stutter. I actually learned that maybe if you just keep on going and stay calm, even if you make like a minor mistake, most people wouldn't really notice.
Well, my own memorable incident concerning the festival is that many years ago I encountered this poem called Good Company, and I trained a student for that. And it's about the narrator seemingly being happy with their company of household creatures like a rat, a spider, and a flea. They're quite disgusting creatures, right? But it seems that the narrator was quite happy with this company. So at first it seems to be a quite positive poem. But then on the second thought, it's not like that. The narrator might be a little bit sarcastic about this. So by saying something happy about this company, actually they're feeling bitter. So I was not 100% sure about my interpretation. I discussed with my student, like, you can choose to do it with the A approach or B approach, and we finally agreed on this approach, and he went for it.
I sleep in a room at the top of the house with a flea and a fly and a soft scratching mouse and a spider that hangs by a thread from the ceiling, who gives me each day such a curious feeling when I watch him at work on the beautiful weave of his web that's so fine I can hardly believe it will all end up in such terrible tangles. For he sways as he weaves and spins as he dangles. I cannot get up to that spider, I know, and I hope he won't get down to me here below. And yet, when I wake in the chill morning air, I'd miss him if he were not still swinging there. For I have in my room such good company. There's him, and the mouse, and the fly, and the flea.
And the funny thing was that my student told me afterwards that at the venue, there are actually a lot of competitors using the positive approach to do it. So it was a happy poem all the way through, even the final few lines. But that was something that the adjudicator didn't want. So I'm quite happy that I sort of guessed it right. But you know, it's the fun thing about poetry performance or poetry appreciation. You don't have the right answer. It's just like any form of arts. It's about your thinking, your interpretation, and different perspectives. That's why it's just a game of the minds.
Firstly, you must speak loudly so that everyone will hear you. Have some facial expression, but not too much, or the judges will think that was annoying.
Posing is really important, and also using your eyes to direct your audience to look. Like if there's a waterfall, maybe you could look at the side and like, wow, there's a waterfall.
So my main advice is just to go for it. And there's not much to lose anyway. And through each experience, whether you win or not, you're going to gain more confidence with the crowd, be more comfortable with people.
Just go in naturally and say what comes out of your heart. Even if you're doing a poem, you can do it with the right confidence and the right emotions. Don't force it.
Well, they have said everything that I wanted to say, but if I could add one more thing, that might be, if you're watching this as a student, thinking about whether or not to join the speech festival or any speech events like this, well, you're already lucky. Because when I was small, I didn't even know about this festival. I didn't even know about language arts. At least I was not chosen to do this kind of competitions. And if you're watching this as an educator, well, most probably you're already a fan of language arts. So have fun.
Don't do it to win. If you only aim to win or get a prize, it's not gonna be like that.
I really don't like losing, and I will keep practicing hard and until I will get the prizes. So keep working hard is the strategy.